Why is everyone quitting Airbnb? I don't understand. In this video, I'm gonna share with you why so many hosts are quitting Airbnb and why it might not be a good fit as a real estate venture for you. So I think a lot of people, these hosts are quitting because of things they think in their mind are really happening. I'm gonna give you an example. A lot of people think that these days, the cleaning fee is too high. 10 years ago, we'd be able to get the property clean for XYZ, and today it's too high. That's number one. Number two, people think that there's this massive fee, like 15%, right? It's like the 15% fee that comes to the host. When somebody books your property, Airbnb charges 15%. It used to be on the guest. Well, guess what? Now 15% gets charged to us, the host. People are quitting. They're saying they're ripping up. They're going against their own rules, and now there's a 15% out of every booking. So if you get a $1,000 booking, $150 is gone. Goes to Airbnb. Number three, and that is the cost of doing repairs. Now, you have people coming into a property that are trashing the place. They're drinking. There's drugs. There's, neighbors complaining. There's people tearing apart the couch. There's people going there and stealing stuff right out of the properties. Why do I want to be an Airbnb host if people are stealing stuff from my property? I don't want to have all these repairs. I'm quitting. Number four, pets are damaging my place. I'm so sick and tired of these pets coming in. People come in, they say there's no pets. You get there and there's 5 pets, there's 2 birds and 3 dogs, and they go in there and they trash the place. And this is why people are quitting, because they do not want to allow pets in the place, and the guests are just showing up with pets and they're trashing the place. Number 5, it's smoking. People are coming in, walls are getting yellow, smoke everywhere, it's getting into my couches, and then people are putting out the cigarettes into the furniture. I'm done. I don't want to do Airbnb anymore. It's a big headache. Number 6, you got to understand, you're going to Airbnb, you got a mortgage unless you have the house completely paid off. So now, guess what? I bought a house to put on Airbnb. I got a high mortgage payment, right? Because interest rates are not that great right now. And I got a mortgage, and now I got to be able to cover that mortgage by Airbnb guest money. Well, my mortgage is too high, and I'm not bringing enough money in from the guests to even pay the mortgage. So why don't I just put a long-term tenant in there, make it easy, so I know that my mortgage is covered, and they're gonna, the long-term tenants will pay off the mortgage, and I can build equity in my property, XYZ. These are 6 of the biggest reasons that these Airbnb hosts are failing and quitting, because they're just tired of bullshit. So now, is that the real reason? Absolutely not. I'm gonna share with you the number 1 reason why Airbnb hosts are failing as of the time of this video. The number 1 reason that Airbnb hosts are failing is because they didn't do market and property research. Let me dive deep into this. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do this and what I've been doing with my students for the last 10 years. I have 3,200 students. I'm the number 1 coach in the country at Airbnb corporate rental. That's gonna play a part. I want you guys to remember this word, corporate rental. Property and market research is the number 1 thing that we can solve on the front end before we get a property. Now, I'm gonna share with you what I've been doing for 10 years, and that is we are not gonna buy the property. So what I do, and I teach my students is I'm gonna get a property from a landlord who is renting their property. This is also known as rental arbitrage. Essentially, we're gonna go to a landlord who's been sitting for 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, almost a year, and they haven't been able to rent their property to a long-term tenant. And we're gonna go up to these landlords and we're gonna say, hey, listen, Mr. Landlord, I know you've been sitting on this property for 7 months vacant. I wanna rent the property today, okay? We work with travel professionals like nurses, doctors, patients, engineers, and military. We're gonna keep the property in for sale condition. Now, off topic for 1 second, I wanna share with you guys something that's very important. Imagine a landlord who's been trying to rent their property for 6 months. They have their mortgage, the taxes, the electric and water that they need to cover. And we say to them, we'll take the property today. I know you've been sitting on it for 6 months. We'll take the property today and we'll rent it for 1 year. We just solved the landlord's problem. They are desperate. They are motivated. They want to get their property rented, but we're going to go to them and we're going to solve the problem by putting a 1-year lease on it. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to dive into AirDNA. Now, AirDNA is a software that's high 90% accurate. You guys can go set up a free account with airdna.co. What you're going to do, you're going to go to Zillow. You're going to target major cities. I'm going to give you a couple cities as part of this video, just so that you guys have some framework. I love Chicago. I love Atlanta. I love Fort Lauderdale. I love Miami. I love Orlando. I love Jacksonville, Scottsdale, Asheville, South Carolina, Nashville, Tennessee. These are some Las Vegas, Henderson, Joshua Tree. These are some markets right now that are doing really well on Airbnb. But here's the big difference. The big difference is what I do is I rent the property. I don't go buy the property. I don't have to deal with a bank. I don't have to deal with credit. I don't have to deal with putting down 20% on the property to go purchase it. I don't have to worry about interest rates being high. I rent the property from a landlord, straight from me to landlord. Hi, Mr. Landlord. I love your property. I noticed you've been sitting on it for 6 to 12 months vacant. I'll take it today. We've now solved a major problem. Anytime you solve a problem for somebody, you can win big time in the world of Airbnb. Rental arbitrage is simply where we go to a property owner, we rent the property for a year, and we put it on Airbnb. But we know the data first because we went to AirDNA. So we went to Zillow, right? Top left corner, you put the city. You're gonna click rent. I'm gonna go through the filters with you guys so you know exactly where to go. You go to city, one of the cities I just shared with you. You're gonna click rent, now purchase. You're gonna make sure you stay under $2,700 a month for rent, right here, where it says amount per month, stay under $2,700. Then you're gonna target your 3 and 4 bedroom properties. As of this video, that's the sweet spot. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna target single family houses and townhouses. Once you get your first property on Airbnb, you can shift to apartments, but for right now, if you're watching me, you don't have any properties, house, townhouse, much easier to get than an apartment complex. Why? Because we never want to sneak into someone's house and not tell them what we're doing. So we're going to get the landlord who owns the property, 123 La Street, to sign a document that says, hey, it's okay to use my property for Airbnb and short-term rentals. Going to an apartment complex that's owned by Blackstone to get them to sign a document without any credibility and no properties, it's much more difficult. So if you're watching me and you don't have Airbnbs, click the houses and townhouses and stick with those first and then shift over to apartments after. Last filter at the top right, and this is the game changer. That filter on the top right, you're gonna click on it, and when you scroll down, you'll see time on Zillow. What that allows you to do is target landlords that are essentially been sitting for a long time vacant, okay? Now we could target a landlord who's been sitting vacant for a while. They're desperate, they've been sitting for 6 to 12 months, and they're very eager to rent you the property. Now, why is this key? Because if I can rent a property and I don't have to buy it, I got a rent payment. I teach my students how to get into a property without their first month of rent. I teach my students how to do this with no credit. We have 3,200 students. I teach my students how to do this without even furnishing the property, okay? I'll show you how to do this literally without even buying a property, just simply renting a property. But how is the Airbnb host that right now, the reason most people are failing is because they're buying the property and not doing any research on the front end. The research you do on the front end is you take the address from Zillow, you put it into AirDNA, and you check the numbers. So you take the address from Zillow, 123 La Street, put it in AirDNA, it's gonna give you the revenue of the property per year, it's gonna give you the occupancy rate, how many people are gonna show up per month, and it's gonna give you how much you can charge per night. That's called your ADR. Knowing this information on the front end, you have to have the data. Don't just think that you watch a couple YouTube videos and you saw Uncle Frank doing Airbnb in Philly 5 years ago that you become an expert. Have the data up front, know the numbers. Now when we go to a landlord, we're confident because all you're gonna do is you're gonna take that revenue, divide by 12 months, and then you're gonna minus out the rent, whatever rent is they're asking on Zillow, then minus out an additional $400 for electric and water, and that gives your potential net profit. When we look for our properties, just so we're on the same page, we've been doing this for 10 years. We look for properties that do more than $1,000 a month. Everybody's background, education, work ethic, and drive, and the way the property's managed are all different, okay? But what we try to find are properties that are doing more than $1,000 after the expenses. That's going to indicate that it is a good Airbnb. So if you guys want help with this is why most people are failing. I'm going to share with you why my students are crushing it because they're not buying the property. They're doing the market and property research on the front end. They're checking the data inside of AirDNA. And now we know up front, before we go to a landlord, all the numbers. If you guys want help with this, shoot me a text. Very simple. Just shoot me a text, hey guys. I'll help you at 904-864-8828, 904-864-8828. Shoot me a text. Let's have an honest conversation. No strings attached. I'd love to walk you through kind of your next steps to help you make sure you're doing it the right way. The problem with a lot of people is they get into this industry, they don't know what they're doing, and they get their ass handed to them because they are trying to get into something that requires a little bit more expertise than just watching YouTube videos. If you want to help doing it the right way, you want to join our family, our team, we have 3,100 students as of the time of this video. Love to have you on board and help you get your first property very quickly without buying it. I'll show you how to do this without furnishing it. And without even paying that landlord their first month of rent, allows you to get into a property without the first month of rent. And then all the guests that come in that month, their first month, that's all cash flow in your pocket. If you guys want help, 904-864-8828. Shoot me a text. We'll set up a free call, strategy call, see where we can go to the next level. Appreciate you guys watching. As always, God bless, be safe. Shoot me a text. Bye.